I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. There have been a lot of tragedies in rock and roll. What some people call JFK moments, where they know where they were when these things happened. When we lost Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse. Those tragic events at the Who concert in 1979. 11 people died. We all remember when John Lennon was killed on December 8th, 1980. The plane crash that killed Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper. That was 1959, February 3rd. Then there's October 20th, 1977, when Lynyrd Skynyrd's plane went down, killing their lead singer, Ronnie VanZant, guitarist Steve Gaines, his sister, backing vocalist Cassie Gaines, their assistant road manager, Dean Kilpatrick, Captain McCready, and First Officer William John Gray. And with the passing of Gary Rosington, who passed away in March of 2023, Artemis Pyle is the last member of the actual band, Lynyrd Skynyrd, to be alive. Not only did he survive that plane crash, he's a long-time survivor. And judging from this interview, you'll see a type of guy who cherishes every single day. But how do you recuperate from a plane crash like that? How do you recuperate from losing one of your best friends, Ronnie VanZant? Even though Artemis Pyle has played with a lot of great people, he has sometimes said in interviews, people would not know me if it wasn't for Ronnie VanZant. Lynyrd Skynyrd was basically his band. In 41 years, I've interviewed a lot of people. And though it's not necessary, sometimes it's nice to, and you'll notice at the end of this interview, to have someone ask you questions because they're generally curious about people. That's who Artemis Pyle is. I only had 20 minutes with him, maybe a little bit more, and I had like 5 minutes left and he starts talking about me. Where I just wanted to get another question in because I wanted to go a little deeper with the Lynyrd Skynyrd stuff, but he was there to promote an album, which, by the way, is called Anthems, honoring the music of Lynyrd Skynyrd. And it's really a tip of the hat to his old bandmates, but also, and most notably, Ronnie VanZant. Before I tell you who's on this album, I'll tell you where the songs lay, where they come from. There are 3 tunes from their 1973 debut album, pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd. Simple Man, Gimme 3 Steps, and Freebird. 5 songs from their sophomore album, their second helping from 1974, Sweet Home Alabama, arguably their most popular song, their signature song, The Needle and the Spoon, The Ballad of Curtis Lowe, Working for MCA, and Call Me the Breeze. There's 2 from the first album to feature Artemis Pyle on drums, Nothing Fancy, Saturday Night Special, it's a big one for them, and The Hunt, and 3 songs from the last album that Lynyrd Skynyrd released before that plane crash. It was released October 17th, 1977. The plane crash was October 20th, 1977. I Know a Little, That Smell, and the big single, What's Your Name? Before we go any further, I gotta tell you, man, I've been rocking to this album since it's been released. The sound quality is on a level that I'm not really used to. And by the way, this is Artemis Pyle's band backing up all these famous singers, and who you might say? Well, Dolly Parton on Freebird, and the late great Gary Rosington plays on that song. They managed to get him before he passed away. Sammy Hagar is featured on Simple Man, Ronnie Dunn from Brooks and Dunn on Sweet Home Alabama, and Billy Ray Cyrus sings Call Me the Breeze. There'll be links in the description where you can order it. There's also signed copies and limited edition signed sticks, but many different variations on this album. Again, it's called Anthems, honoring the music of Lynyrd Skynyrd. Now back to our subject. We're hoping to get Artemis back on the channel so we can dig a little deeper on his days as a musician and his days with Lynyrd Skynyrd, and of course the plane crash. But he did tell us in this clip how he survived all that. My first thought was, do you have survivor's guilt? But he took a trek, and you'll hear about this, a very spiritual trek for him that helped him get back on his feet. He talks about that and a lot more on Rock History Music, the great Artemis Pyle. Hi, Artemis. How you doing, man?
Hey, John.
Ever since I interviewed Henry Paul, Henry's been saying, you got to talk to Artemis. You got to talk to Artemis. Going, okay, yeah, I'm trying, man. We're good.
Where are you, John?
I'm in Calgary, but I have no audience in Calgary. All my audience is in the United States. I've been doing this for I'm a 40-year broadcaster, but I've been doing this for 10 years. Love Americans. Bring it on.
Well, yesterday I did a phoner to up in Canada, and I love Canada. I love playing up there. We played everywhere up there back in the 70s, and Um, we played a place called Sudbury.
Yeah, Ontario.
It's where they tested the moon vehicle, the moon rover. They tested it in Sudbury because it was so similar to the moonscape.
That is crazy. By the way, before we talk about the stuff, tell me about what you're up to these days. How's the band? Oh, you look like a movie star, man. Tell me about I go see Artemis Pyle right now. What am I going to see? What's it look like?
Our band?
Yeah.
We play Lynyrd Skynyrd music better than any band in the world. We've been together for 15 years, and our two guitar players, Scott Rains and Jerry Lida, were fortunate to be able to go to Nashville and sit with the great Ed King that co-wrote Sweet Home Alabama and many of the Skynyrd songs that Ed co-wrote. And so they were able to sit with Ed before, we lost Ed. He had a heart transplant. He had a little bit of the cancer. The guy didn't have a chance, but he did live to be 68. And all the way up to, his death, he would drive his Jaguar, play his guitar, and smoke his cigar. And I loved Ed. And so Jerry and Scott were able to go up to Nashville and sit with him, and straight from the horse's mouth, from the master himself. So when they play these guitar parts, it's not just they heard it on a record, and they've been playing. I'm 75, and they're all like 60 or below, in that range. So they grew up with Skynyrd music. Kind of like I always tell people, they say, I grew up with Skynyrd music. And I go, well, because of Skynyrd music, I never grew up. I'm still about 14. But these guys grew up with the music. They've been playing it a long time before we ever played together. We've been together 15 years. We have a very well-oiled machine. We have the best crew in the business. Our guys are so tech savvy. Our stage is very modern. We don't have a bunch of amplifiers stacked up. It's just my drum set. I play Gretsch 57 Chevys. They look like a 57 Chevy Finn, and they're beautiful drums. They sound good. It's like driving a Ferrari. So my drums are sitting in the middle of the stage, and we have no amplifiers on our stage. Our guys use these Kemper outfits. They're Kemper rigs, and they go through the sound system of whatever place. And we play a lot of beautiful venues, outdoor venues, indoor venues, old theaters that they've restored all over the country. And they have state-of-the-art sound systems. So our sound guy, Russ, he gets out there and he is able to really dial it in for the crowd, so they're not being bombarded by somebody's Marshall stack. The music is being placed, into the room. And we're really proud of that. It's a little weird for me because I look on the stage, there's no amps at all. It's just my drums sitting there. It's like I'm going to do a drum solo for everybody. But they have these state-of-the-art, rigs. And we bought a bus. Bradley, our keyboard player, Bradley Durden, he found a bus for us about 10 years ago, a 1999 Prevost, pearl white. We call her Pearl. We keep her clean as a pin. We run a tight ship, and we keep the galley, the clean. It's very fast. It's got a big engine, a big diesel. We can roll. And our driver drove for Taylor Hawkins from Foo Fighters. He drove for Billy Gibbons from ZZ. he's driven for the best, and he lives. I live in Morganton, North Carolina, and he only lives about 25 minutes from me in Forest City. So we're all close in. We're a tight knit unit. We go in. Everybody enjoys working with us because we're respectful of the dressing room. We don't try to tear stuff up. We don't leave a mess. We try not to leave messes. All we leave is a bunch of satisfied music lovers that come in, and they know it's not Lynyrd Skynyrd. I mean, but it's the sound of the music. We don't put on a clown act. We don't dress up in costumes to try to look like people from Lynyrd Skynyrd. My band doesn't run around on stage, flipping picks, and they'll give a pick out to somebody, but it's not part of the act. Everything is on a natural progression with us. And it's just like with Ronnie VanZant, he used to stand there and sing the songs. These guys, we stand there, we play the music. The guys move around, but it's not contrived. It's not contrived. And people love us when we play, especially festivals, because you can see there's a little band up on stage, unless they have the big screens. Yeah. You can see the band, but what mostly they respond to is the sound. Yeah. And I drive everything the way I drove it. I'm 75, but everybody tells me I play like I'm 25.
What keeps you young, by the way? Because, I'm talking to this guy, and you're like clicking. Because, I'm 63. I talk to guys who at least have 10 years on me, and sometimes we're stopping the tape. And no disrespect, normal part of aging for some people. I'll stop the tape, and I'll have to tell them their fourth album. I don't bat an eye. It's okay. Respect your host. But for you, you're like clicking on all cylinders. How do you do it?
Well, being a drummer, puts you in tune with all of the rhythms around you. I was raised on horseback, so the gallop is under me. It's in me. I'm a natural drummer. I ran bulldozers for my grandfather, sitting on top of a big Caterpillar D8 with that big diesel underneath me, cranking and chugging. I hear rhythms. It's just, I'm sure you've done it. You're driving down the road, the windshield wipers are doing this, and all of a sudden you find yourself writing a little song to the rhythm of the rain and the rhythm of and so I feel like everybody's a drummer. If you do it every day for 75 years, you get really good. All of my children are drummers. All 8 of my children and grandchildren, they all play drums, because no matter what instruments you end up playing, you have to learn time, so it's a natural progression, just like the record that we're talking about, Anthems. It was a natural progression. And a lot of people have asked me, well, why now? Why do a bunch of Lynyrd Skynyrd cover songs? And of course, to me, they're not cover songs. And my band, we've been together 15 years, and we represent. So these are songs from the soul that we play. It's not just, Mustang Sally for 20 minutes. Why now would we do a bunch of Skynyrd songs? Because Ronnie VanZant and his band deserve it. All my friends that are up in rock and roll heaven. We just lost Gary Rossington.
Yeah.
About 7 months ago. And Scott Rains and Jerry Lida and I went down for the funeral. Paul Rogers from Bad Company spoke great words for Gary. It was dignified. There was 1,000 people there. It was a day that I feel like there was a lot of healing. Judy VanZant was there, Ronnie's widow. There was a lot of healing that day. And Gary went too soon. He was only 71. But he was kind of worked pretty hard to get out there and make that money, right? I'm not about the money. I'm about the music. Sure, our band, we like to get paid like anybody else, but we're not greedy. We don't mind earning our money. You know, we won't hold out for $100,000 show. We'd rather play $10,000 shows, you know, and we don't mind earning our money. And we play the places that bigger bands won't play because they won't make $100,000. We play the old theaters that have been restored all over America and all these cool venues, these outdoor places on lakes and everything. We get to play some of the coolest places.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you've got that up there in Canada. I love Canada. I hope we can come up there and play someday.
By the way, how long was that in the works? How long did that take, and when did you first think of doing that?
It took us a long time, John. It feels like we've been working on this for it feels like years. But the process in Nashville, Tennessee, I'm going to tell you, it's a very complicated process to navigate. Getting everybody on the same page. On our new album, Anthems, we have 14 different artists, or a dozen different artists. You're working with a dozen different artists' representatives, the attorneys, the record companies, the management companies.
It's a lot of juggling.
There are a lot of T's to cross and I's to dot. And so it's a difficult process to navigate. We did it. And not only did we do it, but Dolly Parton kind of opened the door. We got Dolly Parton on Freebird. Once you get somebody like Dolly Parton on Freebird, then you got guys like Sammy Hagar. They go, oh yeah, I'd like to sing one for Ronnie. They're all Dolly, Sammy Hagar, Warren Haynes from Government Mule, Billy Ray Cyrus, Ronnie Dunn from Brooks and Dunn, and we have a Canadian on the album. Her name is Lindsay L. And Lindsay is 33 years old, hotter than a firecracker, sweet as she can be. Really
I don't know
nice.
if she used to live here. She used to live in Calgary. I don't know if she still does.
She might have moved to Nashville, but she came in and did Needle in the Spoon. Yeah. And she played guitar and she sang it. And Lindsay did a great job. She represented Canada, and we were proud to have her, and that to expand that reach. And again, why is the reason that we're doing this? Because Ronnie and his band and that music deserves it. And we put the modern technology and the modern recording techniques. I got a great drum sound. The tracks sound great. And I'm going to tell you, the tracks on that album, every single track, Freebird, every single track is Scott Rains, Jerry Lida, Bradley Durden, David Fowler, and Artemis Gomer Pyle.
Did they really call you that when you were in the service?
Well, I went in the Marines in '67. That's when Gomer left Andy Griffith. And so when I got to boot camp, they saw my name tag and they go, come here, boy. and I had to go up and go, Shazam. Golly. Everything that Gomer said, they would make me say. And, you know, John, I mean, 400 men at Chow laughing at me, having a belly laugh at my expense doesn't bother me because they went to Vietnam and gave their life for this country. That could have happened.
Yeah.
And so belly laugh at my expense, no problem. but yeah, I am Gomer Pyle. Shazam! I mean, Gomer was such a foul up. I'll use a foul up, and in boot camp, everybody is.
Everybody.
When I mean, we were all training to go to Vietnam. Our DIs were in our face saying, "Listen, idiot, you're going to die in 6 months anyway. I don't care whether you listen to me or not." And I'm like, "I'll listen."
After 77, did you fly? When was the first time you flew after that crash? And how did you feel?
Well, I put together, I healed up from the plane crash and a natural progression, and put a band together called Studebaker Hawk. And we were writing and everything. Again, just a natural progression. But then I moved to Jerusalem, Israel, to the castle of King David on Mount Zion. And it's called the Diaspora Yeshiva. And it's a school for studying Old Testament. I'm a Gentile. I was raised in the Methodist Church, but I introduced a friend of mine that I went to Ohio State University with to his wife, and they moved to Israel and had 14 children. His name was Ron Davis, and her name was Jane Everett. But they moved to Israel, and they took their Hebrew names, which is Yoshua and Yael ben Yehuda. And so I went over there and lived with them and the children. And I wanted to work on my character. I wanted to become a human being, a better human being. And
as a result, sorry, Artemis, I don't mean to interrupt you, but there's usually a catalyst to someone doing that. I mean, was it because of the plane crash? Were you doing soul searching? Why me? Why am I alive? Tell me.
Well, I mean, I'm the drummer of Lynyrd Skynyrd. We're playing all over the world. We're playing for crowds of 300,000 people. I'm hanging out with Paul McCartney and Jack Nicholson at gigs. That was kind of a pinnacle. Yeah. That was kind of going up the old mountain there. And we were at the summit, and there was more great music about to come. Steve Gaines and Ronnie VanZant loved writing together. And, there was more albums to come, more great music to come. Steve didn't have a chance for all the great music. Ronnie had left quite a legacy, but Steve had more to give. And so going to Jerusalem for me was, it wasn't like I felt like I've done it all, but I had done a lot in the music world, in the music world. So going to Israel was just part of that natural progression to me. And I loved it. I loved the food. I loved the people. I loved the atmosphere. I lived in a 3,000-year-old castle built by King David and other kings, eight other kings, his sons. I was studying. I was learning. It was all good. And the food over there is incredible. The falafel, the fresh fruit in the streets, the people everywhere in the world, everybody in the world, from Australia, from India, from America, from Japan, they all come to Jerusalem to see if it might be the last bus stop, and they're coming there looking for answers. Now, I never saw any visions on the walls because I lived in a room where Jesus Christ slept. I restored a room in the castle of King David where Christ walked. And the room of the Last Supper was out off my balcony. But the thing is, I never heard any voices. but I did feel the presence of an energy, because that land, that space, that real estate had been occupied for a lot longer than other areas on this planet. So I got that sense and I got that feeling. We're lining up for this album, Anthems, and I'm trying to do a couple of days here of Zooms, but I don't have a whole lot of time. But John, if you want to, get my number and call me on the side, and I'll do this again with you on a day with just you and I. I'll be glad to go deep.
I got to tell you, I'm glad you're here and I'm glad you're healthy. It's a good thing, man. It's all good.
Hey, that means a lot, John. I appreciate it. I love Canada. Where you say you?
I'm in Calgary. I've been in radio 40 years, but I'm in Calgary.
Where were you born?
Montreal.
In Montreal?
Yeah.
Call me anytime, 24/7.
Will do.
And right now, I'm sitting in the mountain ranges of North Carolina. I'm looking. That's what I'm looking out. I'm sitting in a place that was built by a good friend of ours, a family member, one of the most talented people. We lost him, but he built the house that I'm sitting in, and it's a unique house. So I'll tell you more about it when we talk on the side someday.
Yeah.
All right.
You go do your other thing. Take care. We'll talk
John.
again.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. Hope you enjoyed that. And again, we're hoping to get Artemis back on the channel to talk about his early days as a musician, why he started playing the drums, his days with Lynyrd Skynyrd, Ronnie VanZant, and of course that plane crash. Remember, he was shot by a farmer when he survived that accident. Goes up to a farmer and wants help, and here's this scruggy guy looking like a hippie, and he gets shot. He survived it, of course. But I mean, this guy is truly a rock and roll star to the fullest degree, and he's still going strong. And he's got it, man. You notice when we were interviewing him, one of the greatest artists that I've ever interviewed in my life. I really enjoyed my time with Artemis Pyle. Again, hopefully we'll get him back. Thanks to all the folks who have joined our newsletter. It's very important for us to get our videos out, so join our newsletter. We've been having some problems with it the last few days. We're hoping to get it fixed. It's probably fixed by now. The link is in the description. If it's not working, just email us, because my email address is there, and you can just email me your email address and we'll make sure we put it on. And thank you for the folks who have donated to our PayPal account. We're in the process of buying this big computer because everything's 4K now. And that's a lot of bandwidth, really. And also producing a 4K video takes an awful lot. So I know a lot of you have heard about this and have been donating to help us buy this brand new computer, which is not cheap. About a year and a half ago, you helped us update our current computer, but now that's not enough. So thank you. There's a link to PayPal in the description. But all the links to Rock History Music and Artemis Pyle are in there. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, share our videos, comment on them, and like them as well. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Take good care of yourself.